Hi, this is David again. It's in October 2011, and I wanted to make this presentation on Mormonism on the subject of how did I, not how did you, not thousands of people, I don't represent anybody here, I say over and over on my videos, if you're happy and you're a Mormon and it floats your boat, God, stay in it. Pay your tithing, live their commandments, and be a happy person. I couldn't do that. When you belong to a cult, it is difficult to deprogram from a cult. First of all, it's hard to get out of a cult. Mentally, it takes extreme concentration, and I'm going to say high intelligence. Dumb people stay in cults. Dumb people get trapped in cults. Can't think outside the box and never get outside the box. There's about 100,000 people a year, a guesstimate, an estimate that many people believe, resign from the Mormon Church. They're not offended, they're not excommunicated, disfellowshipped, there's none of that. They're not being excommunicated. They're just saying, I've read the doctrine, I've read the internet, and I've looked up the original history of the Mormon Church, and I'm ashamed. I don't want to put my name on that. That was kind of the straw in the camel's back for me, was the $4 billion mall. I'd been in the Philippines for a while and have 2 Filipino children and a Filipino wife, and I saw the poverty of a third world country. That doesn't make me an expert on anything. It makes me an experienced person that I saw children starving to death, not having clean water, no food, no clothing, and no education. And then I came home and my name is on the Mormon mall, downtown Salt Lake City. And I have a certain amount of integrity. Some people don't think very much, but I do. I think I have integrity and honesty. And I'm a pretty straightforward person. If you've watched my videos, I've admitted to attempted suicides. I've admitted that I'm bipolar. I've admitted that maybe, living with a bipolar, not maybe, living with a bipolar is difficult for children and wives. But I couldn't put my name on that stupid white elephant in the ghetto area of downtown Salt Lake City and look those children in the Philippines in the eyes and know that my tithing money and the church's tithing money went for that building and not for those hungry children. I know everybody says, oh, there was no tithing money for the mall. That's not true. The church was bankrupt when Lorenzo Snow had it and he instituted tithing. Every cent of the Mormon church that's gone forward from Lorenzo Snow is tithing money. How it's been reinvested and commingled and tangled, it's still all tithing money. And you know, even if it's not tithing money, here's my question on the mall. If you can afford $4 billion in your church, why wouldn't you give it to the poor and the hungry? Why would you build a Jesus mall? Well, you answer that question for yourself. I couldn't come up with a decent answer. Getting back to what I'm saying is that basically a cult is very difficult to deprogram from, and you need some help. Very few people can just sit in a chair after 50 years of being fooled, lied to, cheated, and stolen from, and go, gee, I think this is a bad situation, I'm going to get out. There's about 4 million active Mormons. The rest of the 14 million, the 10 million that they claim to have are excommunicated people, dead people, people that never show up to church, that just are too lazy to have their names removed from the records. Well, let me share with you what I went through and how I've recovered. Now, I have to be very careful of that term because you don't recover from a cult. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. I do have some cult training and education and background, but my opinion is you don't recover. It's very similar to a rape or an incest victim. You come to a point where you can go on with your life and act fairly normal, but the evil that has been done to you the scars never go away. I began to go onto the internet, and I found a website. Now there's many of them. I'm not trying to promote. I don't get any money. I don't supervise. I have no agenda for ex-Mormon.com or the recovery. It's called Recovery from Mormonism. Recovery from Mormonism. You just put that in Google search engine, it'll come up. Now, the reason that I use recovery for my cult recovery is several. The reason that I use them is, number one, they're legitimate. There's nothing phony. There's nothing puffed up. No one's making any money. I think it costs $700 a year for that site to be up. It's up by former Mormons, and Eric is the owner of the site. Susan is the controller of the site, so that you can't get in there and say, you know, really obnoxious and or try to defend the Mormon Church. That's not what the board is about. The board is about what I'm doing right here. Is there's millions of Mormons who basically are trying to figure out, what have I done? Why am I acting the way that I am? Why was I in a cult? How was I that stupid? So you can go onto the board and lurk, L-U-R-K, which means no one knows that you went on, your name is not published or whatever. They ask for your email and then make up a name, you know, the fire engine, the lamp, doesn't matter. That way you have total anonymous contact, and you can look. There's about 1,500 people a day that post. Post means they write something, put their name on it, their fake name, and then they post it so everybody else can see what their experience or their question is. That's 1,500 a day that post. 185,000 people that read that website every day. Let me repeat that. 185,000 people a day read Recovery from Mormonism.com. You can go on there and lurk. You can go back years and years on what people have said and their discussions on Mormon doctrine and things that have happened to them and their family. And it is a difficult thing for ex-Mormons to go on that board. I found that because I had such skewed ideas of what boundaries were, because I came out of the Mormon cult. I thought you said certain things and did certain things and they'll just rip you wide open. Those that have recovered said, that's stupid. We know it's stupid. And why don't you think about it? You'll come up with the same idea. It's stupid. When you come from a closed community where everything you say is, you know, pay, lay, ale, as long as you're speaking what the Mormon authorities want you to say, they're clapping in sacrament meeting and jumping up and down, and your name is in the paper, and it goes on and on. But you go on this board and you say something stupid or undocumented or incorrect, they're going to rip you wide open. I had a hard time with that for first year. I had a very hard time. I thought I knew what I was talking about. I didn't. I didn't. And the details, when somebody on the board says, well, Joseph Smith killed 2 people at Carthage and seriously wounded another one, I go, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's not true. That's just evil. Evil internet apostates. Well, I looked it up. God, it was true. Huh. So it took me a year. It took me a whole year to adjust. I'm going to say something here publicly that'll probably get me in trouble, but you know, that's just my personality. When I went on the board, I was so obnoxious at trying to be a Mormon on the board that they kicked me off. They kicked me off. They were kind. They said, you know, you're just kind of out of bounds. And why don't you stay off for a little while and then you can come back on after you learn and you read. Now, at first I was kind of insulted with that and angry. But I continued to lurk and watch, and I realized some of the things that I was doing and saying were crossing boundaries. I was an ex-Mormon. I didn't know how to properly socially interact with strangers and people who could say to me, "That's not true. You're wrong." See? In the Mormon church, I never had anyone say to me, "Oh, that's not true. You're wrong," because I was programmed to parrot back and back the same words, the same doctrine, and I never was challenged. You challenge a Mormon and, we fall down like a deer in the headlights. We don't know what to say or do. So we become so defensive, we're obnoxious. So anyway, I got kicked off the board, and I stayed off of it, maybe for a year or so. And then I got back on and went under a new name, not my temple name, but a new name. And I haven't even been deleted for the last year and a half, 2 years that I've been on it. If you say or do something that is against the board policy and rules, they'll just delete you. So people won't see your post. The 200,000 people a day won't see it. So it's well controlled. There's people on there we call trolls, TROLLS. They're people who are usually Mormons, and they try to pretend they're not, and they come on and try to secretly promote the religion. Within hours, we discover that. And when you're on there, you can see a troll, you can smell a troll, and Susan, the what's it called, IP director, she just deletes them. But I've been a good boy. I've been on there for over a year, and I haven't been deleted. Every subject is available on the board. You can put any question in there that you want, and within hours, 20 or 30 people are going to come up with the right answer. Experienced people. I learned that basically when I have someone to talk to of my own intellect, of my own background, my own gender, my own ethnicity, I didn't say that right, ethnic background, I found peace, I found contentment, and I found someone that could really understand what I'm saying. And so, if any of you that are watching this are going, what is this guy's motivation? Does he get money? No, there's no money. It's not the Mormon church. There's no money on the recovery board. And there's no agenda. And they don't use my YouTubes. I'm not a public speaker. None of that. It's just that they have been extremely kind to me and have helped me to recover from Mormonism so that I can feel free, content, at ease, at peace. And I stay on the board mostly to continue my recovery because, like I said, you're a rape victim, you never totally recover. But I'm also on there to, like I'm doing to and for you by saying something. This is therapy for me. It doesn't do anything for anybody else. Turn it off. Turn it off. Go somewhere else. It's therapy for me. And if I can help somebody else through my experiences, then that makes me feel good. I'm an atheist. I moved from Christianity and Mormonism to atheism. It took me a year or so, but when people walk on water and gold plates disappear with angels, I'm saying, too many similarities here. So I've gone atheist, and the nice thing about being an atheist is that if you're wrong, Jesus forgives 70 times 7. And you can just throw yourself on the mercy of the court and you get in anyway, so you don't have to go through all of the hassle of being Christian. So I'm not too worried about it. Anyway, to recover from the Mormon church, you're going to need probably people outside your friends and family, because your friends and family are going to shun you. You died. You died to your friends and to your family. They're not going to be anything except impediments. They're going to criticize you, they're going to put words on you like apostate, they're going to tell you you're going into the Mormon hell, which is outer darkness, that you've lost your testimony, you've lost your family, you've lost your baptism, you've lost being able to pay tithing, oh man, yeah, right, all the privileges that you've lost. So you're going to need other people, perhaps like me, who have lost my family, my children, my wives. I've been called every name in the book. People hate me that were Mormons. And your best friends will shun you, and they won't return your phone calls, and you're going into a world of hell. But you've been in a world of hell. I've always said to people, if I go to hell, I'll do okay, because I was a Mormon for most of my life. I know what torture is. I know what disappointment and heartache is. So, find a good website. I recommend Recovery from Mormonism. And another reason that I like Recovery is I'm going to compliment Steve Benson. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner at the Arizona Republic newspaper. He's a cartoonist. And he is the grandson of Ezra Taft Benson, who was a prophet for the Mormon Church. Steve goes on maybe 2 or 3 times a month, and he's always got very interesting, insightful, personal experiences of what it was like to be in the top echelon of the Mormon Church, and privileged, special seating, special food, special transportation, and he tells you that's where your tithing money went. And of course he spent a lot of time with his grandfather, and he was senile, the grandfather, and the church kept putting suits on him and putting him in fancy chairs and taking pictures of him like he was actively the prophet and in charge of the church. Well, Steve puts all that stuff to rest and tells the truth. He has a sharp wit, and he has a very sharp tongue. And if you put something on there that Steve disagrees with, he'll say so. And you have a right to say back to him, I don't agree with you. But Steve will come up with documentation that will knock you off your feet. And when he says something, he is generally 99% in a position to prove. He will tell you what page number that's on, what paragraph that is, which book it is, which author it is, and that his opinion is coming from that book. So again, the reason I like Recovery is that it has a pretty upper level of intelligence. You just don't get people on there, oh, you know, I was screwing everything and they excommunicated me, and between beers and shooting drugs, I don't like them. You don't get those kind of people. You have temple presidents that have been on there. You've got several stake presidents. You've got many seminary instructors and church educational leaders. You have bishops. You have elders quorum presidents. You have doctors. You have lawyers. You have podiatrists. You have, oh my gosh, it goes on and on. I'm always amazed that somebody will write in and it's off topic, which they don't do a lot of, but we try to help each other. And someone says, you know, I have a back injury, or my foot hurts, or I can't see out of my eye, and God, you'll get 1 or 2 doctors that come right on the board and tell you this is probably what you got, this is the medications. We can't diagnose, of course, but we can advise you to see a doctor. And I'm always amazed. Legal questions, real estate questions, CPA. I like the board because it also is gender balanced. We have as many females on the board as we do males. And that's a nice balance, because females bring a very different slant to what it was like to be in the Mormon Church and to be a female. So there's other boards, Packman and others, who have done years and years of work helping the public know about the Mormon Church. But if you get around to it, give Recovery a quick click, look on it. You like it, be on it, and lurk for a while, learn. And then if you feel like you have something to say or a question to ask, all you got to do is give them an email address, make up a password, and you're on it. No one knows who you are. It's totally anonymous, and the stake presidency and the bishop and your home counselor's not going to see you and come over and knock on your door and push that fear, that intimidation onto you. And you know, you've heard of the committee to strengthen the members of the church. It's a committee, secret, CIA, FBI of the Mormon Church, that reads newspapers, watches these videos, and hunts on the internet for Mormons who are speaking out or asking questions. You will get excommunicated. So Recovery Mormonism is a safe place to be, fun place to be. The humor, when it's so sad to see the most talented, the most educated, the most humorous members of the Mormon Church have left, and they congregate onto basically this board and others, and you'll read stuff that just knocks you off your chair laughing. It is funny stuff, it's good stuff, and if you're going to recover and leave that organization, you're going to spend 1 to 5, 10 years recovering, and you're going to need some help, and you're going to need some people that understand and accept you for who you are. And if you go on there with what the Mormons call it, a sincere heart, with a real intent, I guess that's the Book of Mormon, I get the burning in my bosom. But if you go on there, you'll have a lot to learn, like I do and did, that we don't know boundaries. We don't know normal people. We don't know what's normal. And when we say and do things, as a new member of that board, we're obnoxious. And when we get obnoxious, the older, experienced people, they're going, they won't talk or answer you. They just kind of let you flounder a little bit, because that's the way we learn. You can't instruct a person on how to totally deprogram from a cult. That's something that's individual, and that's something that the individual has to be ready for and want and spend the time to do it. But anyway, I am going to summarize now and basically say you're in a cult if you're a Mormon. If you're going to get out of that cult, you better start looking for some support systems, because you're going to be like a lonely man in the desert, or a lonely woman in the desert. Your friends and your family are going to desert you, and they're going to hate you, and they're going to try to put pressure on you not to leave their cult. And they'll take your jobs, they'll take your money, they'll lie about you, they'll cheat, they'll use Facebook, they'll use YouTube, they'll do everything they can. And then your bishop's going to come over and bang on your door, and your stake president, and when you write your letter of resignation, the only reason the church allows you to resign rather than being excommunicated these days is the Supreme Court of the United States said when they write a resignation letter, they're out. They're out. The Mormon Church has no influence and no power over you once you write a letter, I don't want to be a Mormon anymore, and you send it into Greg Dodge, as the person these days, in Salt Lake City, and then he sends back to you a pamphlet that says, we want you back, you've had your feelings hurt, you don't want to be back, you don't have your feelings hurt, you just don't like the doctrine. It isn't true, and it hurts people. And he says, oh, you've got to see your bishop, you've got to see your stake president. None of it's true. None of it's true. They wait 30 days, and if you don't do anything, they finally send you a letter that says, oh, you've lost your baptism, you've lost your priesthood, you've lost all your temple blessings. And they try to intimidate, and scare. And those of us that basically have decided this is not for me, we just throw that in the trash and frame our exit letter. So, be prepared mentally and emotionally to be lonely, to be upset, to be very angry, and the board will allow all that. Recovery Mormonism allows and expects you to be angry and upset, and we tolerate that because we know we all went through that. That is a normal recovery process from a cult. So if it does you any good, go for it. If it doesn't, and it floats your boat, and you like that organization, stay in it. My gosh, pay extra tithing, extra fast offering. I think they now have a fund for the temple patrons, people who can't afford to get to the temple. There's a new fund that you can donate into, but there's no accounting. There's still no accounting. So when you do humanitarian funds, and you do tithing, and you do fast offerings, and now you have the perpetual education, you have so many funds that you can donate to in the Mormon Church. And they tell you, you're going to get to heaven. You get heaven points. When you put money in those coffers, you get to go to Jesus' heaven. And we're going to go there too, but we're going there in Italian suits. And don't worry about us driving around on your tithing money in black limos and flying on the Huntsman jets, Lear jets, to get where we're going, and to have banquets, and to have honor and privileges and special seating, and be on TV, and be in our own newspaper. No one else wants to report on the Mormons, and Desert News is just about dead in the water, but they still try to keep pumping up the world that they're a successful organization. So if you're going to recover, find some support systems and use them. Be prepared for a long, arduous process. The longer you've been in that cult, the longer it's going to take you to free your mind up, and they say when you know the truth will set you free. It is hard. It is hard to leave the Mormon Church, and it's very hard to try to become normal and develop new friends and The other day I was in lunch and I had a pina colada and I'm shaking looking for, the bishop and Jesus and my home teachers, and it's still, I'm 63, 64 years old, and I'm still terrorized. I'm still terrorized that they're looking and they're watching, and I'm going to be punished, and Jesus is going to throw me into outer darkness. Recovery from the Mormon church is a bitch. It's a bitch. It's hard as hell to get out of that organization and to get your head screwed on and to become somewhat of a normal person. You'll never be normal again. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. I don't think I'll ever be normal again. They've taken too much, and there's so much of the subliminal parts of the brain that are programmed, and you'll always, like a rape victim, get triggered. You'll get triggered when you see things that they've put into your brain. So, if this is helpful, great. If it's not, go watch something else. Appreciate you. Thanks. Bye.